everyone, my name is Shauna, in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. In case you don't know this about me, I have a condition called POTS, which stands for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome. A lot of people aren't aware of POTS, and so in today's video I wanted to talk about things that I wish people knew about POTS. I'll have my other POTS videos linked in the description below as well. Those can give you sort of the general symptoms of POTS, how I got diagnosed, the tilt table test, all that information. So just a little summary in case you haven't seen those videos, what the main symptoms of POTS are. We are fatigued, lightheaded, and nauseous, and we could pass out. Which leads me right into the first thing I want to talk about of something that I wish people know about POTS. So this condition is known as the passing out condition, the fainting condition. And people need to understand that if we have POTS, we do have the potential to pass out. Now, if we're sitting or laying down, we most likely won't pass out. However, when we go from sitting or laying to standing, that's when we're most at risk to pass out. However, if we stand for too long periods, we could also pass out, but like the biggest time that we could pass out is when we're having that body movement from sitting to standing. And so if you're with someone who has POTS, just like keep an eye that they're getting up okay, but you also don't have to offer your arms to them. The thing is, people are sometimes like, here, take my arm, that'll help you feel better when you're standing up. And the thing is, I am not having an issue having the strength to stand. Every once in a while that is the case, but when I'm specifically going from sitting to standing, it's the vertical position that would cause me to pass out. Holding onto someone's arm does nothing for me. If I'm about to pass out, I need to sit down or lay flat on the ground. And while it's great to offer your arms to people who seem unsteady and need it, that is not going to help prevent people from passing out if they have POTS. Another thing that I wish people would know about POTS is that anybody can get it. Generally, POTS happens more in people who were born female, so they looked at your features and said you are female, but it can also happen in people who were born male. The reason why I say it can happen to anyone is because it can. If you get a concussion, you can get POTS. I'm not really sure why. I think it has to do with POTS is dealing with your autonomic nervous system, and anything that can make it go out of whack and mess up that vagus nerve can get you to develop POTS. So a concussion is a common way that people get POTS. So people can be completely healthy 1 minute, you get a concussion, the next thing you know they have POTS. And you can also get it from getting an illness. Now sometimes this has to be like a viral illness that's really bad. Like COVID is a big trigger for POTS. So we're seeing an increase in POTS cases because of COVID. COVID is triggering POTS. And I'm not saying that COVID will cause everyone to get POTS or that getting sick will cause everyone to get POTS. So with POTS, you have this like gene or like this switch in your body, and something like getting a concussion or getting sick can turn that switch on, can turn that gene on. Now it's hard because there isn't a ton of research on POTS yet, so it's not like they can just draw your blood and see if you have this marker for POTS. Like anybody could get it because we don't have a way to see if you have that switch for POTS lying dormant in you currently. Now hopefully we will have more POTS research soon, and there has been some studies that have suggested that there is ways to identify POTS based off of a blood test. However, it hasn't been like 100% set in stone now, so you can't get diagnosed with POTS off of a blood test yet. You still have to get the tilt table test. Another thing that I wish people knew about POTS is that we are specifically told by doctors to put as much salt as possible onto all of our food. I currently can't eat solid food because of GI issues that are somewhat connected to POTS, somewhat not. But a lot of people like shame other people like, oh, you're gonna get like a heart attack or whatever from having so much salt. But we are literally instructed by doctors to put tons of salt on our food. Having a lot of salt helps us keep water in our body, and that can help increase the amount of blood we have in our body, and it can help our blood vessels keep the blood where it's supposed to be. Because the reason we pass out is because we stand up and our blood drops to our feet, and if we're standing for too long, our blood can pool on our feet. However, salt helps with this, and it can help our body function more at a little bit of a normal level. So if you see someone with POTS dumping salt on their food, mind your business. I have had doctors specifically tell me to eat lunch meat and hot dogs because of how much salt are in them. Speaking of that, a lot of people with POTS have a lot of different dietary issues. Specifically, most people with POTS cannot have soy, wheat, or dairy. Now, for whatever reason, some people choose to keep one or all of these in their diet. For example, I have dairy still in my diet. I literally wouldn't be able to live without dairy because of my other dietary restrictions, not all of them related to POTS. So don't try and encourage someone with POTS to go vegan or vegetarian because we have so many dietary restrictions from our POTS that we can't always do that. If someone with POTS can go vegan or vegetarian, great, you know, be supportive of them. But if they can't, don't push it on them. Don't be like, oh, you weren't understanding right. Just like be like, oh, okay, you have a different body than me. Another thing that I wish people know about POTS is that a lot of times people are misdiagnosed with something else before getting diagnosed with POTS, or it's blamed entirely on their anxiety. Anxiety can make you like faint and lightheaded, which is why doctors a lot of times say that it's just anxiety. However, if you know someone who is feeling really fatigued, lightheaded, feeling like they're about to pass out all the time, and doctors are just saying it's their anxiety, maybe suggest POTS to them. You don't want to be someone who's like pushing your thoughts on them fully, like urging them to do one thing or another, but at the same time, doctors don't know about POTS enough. So if you know someone who is having doctors tell them it's just their anxiety, but they have physical symptoms, mention POTS to them. Don't like push it too much, but be like, oh, well, sometimes those symptoms can actually be POTS even if doctors say it's anxiety. I wish I had someone like that who said that to me when I was 17 and 18, because that would have helped me so much, because doctors were like, it's just your anxiety, it's just an eating disorder, and I was like, what? And it took me several years before a doctor was finally like, actually this is POTS. And the final thing for this video that I wish people knew about POTS is that wheelchairs can sometimes be helpful for POTS, but we do not necessarily need a wheelchair all the time. So I've used a wheelchair sometimes and it really helps. On days when we're really faint, a wheelchair can help because it can prevent us from passing out, and we're also really fatigued from POTS all the time. So being able to sit in a wheelchair instead of having to walk around all the time can really help, and it can make it so that we can do stuff like go to the zoo or go to a big outing if we're in a wheelchair as opposed to walking around, because sometimes that's more manageable for us. So those were a bunch of things that I wish people would know about POTS. If you found this video informative, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. All of my social media will be linked down in the description below, and as I said, all of my other POTS videos will be linked down in the description below as well. I hope that you can watch those videos and learn some more about POTS. If you have any questions about POTS, feel free to tweet me or comment on my Instagram and I'll be happy to get back to you. I upload videos twice a week, so my next video will be uploaded next Tuesday. I hope to see all of you there for that video. Until next time, goodbye!